Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Graz, and I'm going to bring you a video about the auction house. You've probably seen throughout the entire internet, there's been a bunch of different guides that have been suggested, all each something similar to the approach of reach gold cap in a matter of days, and get gold you've never had before. Well, all these guides have one thing in common. They do give you some information that's handy, but sometimes they don't always tell you this. You're going to be wading waist deep into the auction house. And the auction house is pretty much a PvP battleground in its own accord. You're going to have people undercutting each other almost every minute. It's going to be absolute nightmare if you go in not knowing what you're doing. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not as bad as it might seem at first. But it will require some time, some patience, and a little bit of effort on your part to actually make a profit out of the auction house. Now, when you get started in the auction house, you want to get started with a level 1 character. You don't want to have a character that you already have, basically because if there's a change down the road, or you realize, hey, wait a minute, I want to use this character again, then you're going to have to shuffle things around to get things situated to use that character and have all your auction house stuff transferred off. Just make it nice and clean. Start with a level 1 character. That way you won't have to go through the heartache of doing a bunch of switching around. Besides, it just makes it that much easier. The best way when you first get started in the auction house is just to select a few trade good items and simply go from there. Whether it be skinning goods, whether it be Eternals, or it could be anything from previous expansions. Some items still do sell good from Wrath of the Lich King and the Burning Crusade. You pretty much have to go out and find them. Well, how do you do that? Well, you go into the auction house and you go through your trade goods and you pick about maybe 2 to 4, maybe 5. Pick a couple items and just simply sit back and watch them. Just sit back for a couple of days, see where they go. What prices they start off at the lowest, what prices they start off at the highest. And just each day, jot down on a notebook or a piece of paper or somewhere where these items end up. Because ultimately, what you're going to do is figure out what's the best time to buy and what's the best time to sell. Because you can actually flip some items around for a profit. And that's just the thing. You can either flip them for a profit or you can actually farm them. It's entirely up to you. You can start off farming if you like and make a complete profit. And then after a while, once you get comfortable with the market, you can go ahead and start buying low and selling high. And it actually makes your job that much easier when you're able to start flipping items like that. A lot of times when you start doing that though, you're going to realize there's going to be people that have no idea what they're doing and just want to go ahead and dump the item off on the auction house and try to get some gold back. Now, if you decide to start flipping these items, make sure you're going to get at least double your gold back. Simply because why would you buy something and only get a small percentage back? Basically, when you peg your market for an item, you should be able to see that the lowest part in the market and the highest part of the market, you should be able to figure out somewhere in there where you can get the most return on it. The reason why I say double is you want to maximize your return. That is the best way to approach it. One thing you never want to do is sell for a loss. This is the reason why you want to wait a few days and peg the market to make sure that you don't buy something which you think might be low only to have it drop even lower. The only time something like that might occur, make sure to check the latest patch notes for our next upcoming patch. That way you're not out of the loop. Now, speaking of patch notes, you want to stay in the know-how with the patches, because sometimes the demand for some items may go up or down, depending upon what Blizzard has set. By keeping up with these patch notes, you'll be able to predict what's going to happen in the market, So that way you can stay ahead of the game. If the demand for an item goes up, well, at that point you want to start stocking up on certain item. That way you can actually double your profit. But if the demand for an item goes down, that's where you want to start selling. And just keep an eye on the market from there, because who knows, it may not change that much. But you'd really want to start dumping on that item. You don't want to get stuck with something you could sell for a loss. Now, the one thing that probably gets a lot of people upset in the auction house is undercutting. Undercutting is the bane of people playing the auction house. Basically what happens, you post an item, 5 minutes later somebody undercuts you. Somebody undercuts you deep. It's very annoying. Things like that you can't let get to you. When they start undercutting you deep, don't fall into their trap. 9 times out of 10 they want you to keep undercutting. That point someone's going to either A, buy out from you and resell at a higher price, or B, it's going to crash the market and make it completely worthless to everybody. If you find that somebody keeps undercutting you in such a manner, then just simply take a break from that item. Just let it go. Eventually that person's going to get tired and they're going to move on to a different market. Just don't let it upset you to the point where you're undercutting somebody so bad you're losing out on potential profit. It's not worth it in the long run. If somebody keeps doing that, it's very well possible it could be somebody doing something they never sold before. They just want to dump it off. You could actually contact them and gently tell them they're losing more profit by cutting by so much, but I don't know if I would recommend that. As I stated, this is a PvP battleground. 9 times out of 10 when somebody contacts another person about auction house items, a lot of times people don't take it too kindly. So that's something you can use at your discretion. I wouldn't tell you to do, because people are going to get kind of irritated when you get a hold of them in that manner. So if you feel like you might be able to talk them out, go for it. I mean, there's actually times where people go into a market, don't know what they're selling, so they sell cheap. And there's actually been people who've actually cut deals to have them ship items to them and actually pay for it. They've actually set up pipelines that way. So if you're lucky, you may be able to set up something like that and actually have a gold pipeline set up for you right there. So contacting somebody may help, but that's something that's up to you for your discretion. And like I said, if they continue to flood the market, back out. It's not worth it in the long run. Don't lose potential profits that you could get by playing somebody else's game. That's why you want to get a couple items in your repertoire. You want to be able to back out of one market if things go south. Now, a couple of add-ons you can use while in the auction house. I recommend their Auctioneer and Auctionator. There's 2 simple add-ons. Auctioneer is one you want to run pretty much every day. And by I mean run, there's an actual scan option. The first 3 days, you'll probably want to be able to scan the auction house probably twice a day. You want to build up an average of pricing in the auction house. When you actually start getting percentages, I wouldn't take the percentages too seriously. And what I mean is, look at them and see where the market's heading, but don't use them as a guide to sell. Because 9 times out of 10, what people tend to do is they're going to break the market intentionally. Someone's going to take an item and put a ridiculous price on it just to try to break the market intentionally. So while the percentages are a little handy to give you an idea of what's going on, don't take them as textbook. Because if you take them as textbook, you're going to have a hard time selling, and it's going to make the auction house a hard time for you. Basically, when you're in the auction house, you have to look at it as a mini game in WoW, because that's ultimately what it is. You know, you take a break from leveling, you take a break from raiding, you go on to your alt character, your level 1. You go in there and you have to look at it as a PvP minigame. If you keep looking at it as an entire entity, it's going to get old after a while. It's its own little minigame. Go in there, PvP with the people for a little bit. You don't have to go on there for hours and hours on end. Maybe an hour or 2 a day maximum. You know, and you can still turn big profits. You know, if you go in there and you check your mailbox, there's going to be some days where everything you put on the auction house sold. And that's the greatest feeling in the world when you open up your mailbox and all this gold starts pouring out. But you have to understand too, there's going to be some days where you open up that mailbox and every single item you put on that auction house is going to absolutely fall out. And that's probably one of the worst feelings when you have that happen. But don't get discouraged. It takes a lot of time and patience to actually get the hang of the auction house. So there's going to be days that happens. You just have to keep plugging and trying again. These gold guides and these other auction house guides are going to tell you, make millions of gold. You can. It just takes a little bit of practice and patience. It will happen eventually, but you have to be in it for the long haul. It's not something you could sign up for 1 week and then say, where's my millions of gold? It just takes certain practices to be able to take advantage of these things. And in time, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll be able to expand on the other markets. Because that's ultimately what you want to do. As you've started off with probably 2 to 5 items, after a week or so, you want to slowly start expanding. The big auction house players probably have 100 to 200 different auctions on there at a time. People are just going to maximize their auctions that way. Because when they can sell all those items, you're talking about thousands of gold that could potentially come in on one spot at the mailbox. That just takes feel. Once you get comfortable with certain markets, it allows you to slowly expand out and get into different zones. And once you get there, you'll be able to actually get this gold that other people are talking about. You'll be able to reach those certain plateaus. So just remember, patience. Don't fall into other people's traps when they undercut you deeply. Some people are going to say, oh, well, that's the best way to get people out of the market. It's not. Because I've seen a lot of people that undercut a lot. I've seen them jump out of markets. I've jumped in behind them. I've actually was able to actually set the market higher up. Now, granted, I haven't played the auction house game in a while. But I found it quite easy to make about 7,000 or 10,000 gold in 1 week's time. It doesn't happen as soon as you get started. But after a couple of weeks, yeah, you can make that much gold in a week. You just have to remember to keep expanding your horizon. Keep adding more items to your auction house repertoire. And as you grow, so is your profits. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it informative. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. As well, if you like our other videos, please subscribe. We have a lot of videos come out, and hopefully you find them enjoyable. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below or visit our website at www.paraboypro.com. Once again, I appreciate you watching the video, and I will see you again next time.